Hi, I'm Matt. Welcome to Disney Planning Insights. Through creative content and live shows, we explain the hidden details of the Disney experience so that our clients can execute memorable adventures. Together with Princesses and the Mouse Disney Travel, we have helped hundreds of clients plan, book, and prepare for magical Disney vacations. Let our experience help you avoid common planning mistakes and maximize the enjoyment on your next Disney trip. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Matt with the DPI podcast. Over on the other screen, I've got Peter with Princesses and the Mouse Disney Travel. He is here. He's been here the whole time. Before we get going, want to shout out a few new subscribers, definitely over on the YouTube side. Antonio Lopez, thank you. Original DK93, thank you. Brittany Luke, thank you. X-Raider6, thank you. And Cashed Crystal, thank you. Over on Twitch, Tyson Bella Tonight, thank you for jumping on and hitting that follow button over on Twitch. Very much appreciate it. As I said in the opening, we are very close to getting to our subscriber goals in YouTube and in Twitch. So if you haven't subscribed over on the YouTube channel, go ahead and do that over there. If you haven't followed us on Twitch, if you're a Twitch user, definitely go over there. Hit that follow, hit that bell, so we can let you know when we're going live. We do it every Monday night, and then if there's something crazy going on, we may jump on and do a live show kind of as things are happening. So definitely something to watch out for. But again, thank you guys all for the subscriptions, the follows. Very much appreciated. Just kind of cements what we're doing. Your interactions, your engagement are really what drive us to do this on a weekly basis, especially for the last 5 years now. So let me go ahead and bring on Peter with Princesses and the Mouse Disney Travel. Mr. Salvadori, how you doing tonight?
I'm here.
You are here, and people can hear me and all kinds of stuff. So I mean, it's
wow.
one of those nights.
This is a win-win.
I know. So we'll get into the news and we'll just kind of jump into it because really there was only one big news story this week, and it happens tomorrow. And that is the removal of virtual queues from Guardians of the Galaxy and Tiana's Bayou Adventure. With that being done, that means there are no more virtual queues anywhere, correct?
Yeah, that's those were the two currently operating.
So what are the ways that people can get to these rides now? So you've got your standby line, but what other ways can people book these rides?
Well, Tiana's Bayou Adventure is and always has been a part of the standard Genie Plus package. So it is a top tier attraction. So if you do pick Tiana's, that is going to take away the ability to pick the other top tier rides like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. For example, would be another big top tier ride that you would want, because the way that the Lightning Lanes, the Genie Plus works at all the parks, you get one top tier attraction and then two other attractions. Very similar to how Epcot used to do it back when the system was free, is how it all runs now. And then over at the Epcot side, that is going to be an individual Lightning Lane experience. The way that it has been is Cosmic Rewind has been the individual Lightning Lane. So up until now, the only two ways to get into that was to do the virtual queue or the individual Lightning Lane, and now it'll be standby or the individual Lightning Lane in order to get in to Cosmic Rewind. And Same thing over at Tiana's. Your Lightning Lane will just be people that bought Lightning Lane and the standby queue versus a virtual standby queue.
So I think this is a big deal because, it kind of gets us back to where we were pre-COVID with no virtual queues. Now, is this going to change here when Monsters comes online, when the new Cars ride comes online and that kind of stuff? Probably. But we are to a point in the parks right now to where there are no virtual queues, so no having to get up at 7 a.m., no having to worry about it at 1 p.m., all that kind of stuff. So with as much blowback as there was about the virtual queues, do you think it's something that they question moving forward if they actually use them for new rides in the future?
I think they will, and I don't. Virtual queues had nothing to do with COVID. Just to make sure we're on the same page with that, because Rise of the Resistance was the first queue, and that opened in 2019 using a virtual queuing system. So virtual queues were present pre-COVID. Could COVID arguably justified more virtual queues than was maybe planned? Yeah, maybe, arguably. But I also think the virtual queue system is a pretty solid way to bring a ride online, especially a big attraction. You think, Remy's done it. The Rise of the Resistance did it, right? As soon as Rise of the Resistance came on, Remy went down. Tiana's Bayou Adventure has done it. Would I anticipate, Tron did it. Like you said, a whole bunch of rides are coming. What will, what won't. I would expect, a big attraction. Like, for example, what's the next big attraction probably that's going to hit? Well, we'll see how long Cars Land takes to build in Magic Kingdom, or it's going to be the Monsters, Inc. suspended roller coaster.
Yeah.
I would totally expect the Monsters, Inc. suspended roller coaster to launch with a virtual queue and some type of a Genie Plus, whether it becomes another individual in addition to Rise, because I don't see Rise's individual going anywhere anytime soon. It is just a money maker.
Yeah.
But I could totally see the nice thing about the virtual queue is it keeps the ride lines manageable during the highest demand for the ride, so that you don't have this 4-hour. Remember, I think Flight of Passage was where Disney came up with the process of virtual queues. Flight of Passage did not have a virtual queue, and you and I both know that those ride lines were in excess of 5 hours.
Yeah, I mean, it would get the 300-minute. I mean, and it still gets over 3 hours consistently.
Right. So I think maybe in that launch, Disney went, let's look at the way that we launch and maybe keep the ride more manageable. And then as the ride, because both of those rides have been around for a while. Tiana's has been around for a while. And same with Cosmic Rewind. It has been around now for a couple. Cosmic Rewind's like 2 years old now.
Yeah.
So to pull the virtual queue makes sense. Is there going to be an influx of line? Absolutely. But I do think pulling the virtual queues makes sense. But I also think putting virtual queues in the future makes sense.
I guess my whole thing is I look at it from kind of both sides. Would you be more disappointed knowing that you got up in the morning and, man, you hustled over to a ride and you waited for it for 4 hours to ride it? Or you woke up in first thing in the morning, got on your phone at 7 a.m. and missed a chance to ride it at all?
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
And I think
it takes away a guest experience.
I think that guest that's willing to wait that time loses out. And again, the virtual queue's a free of charge thing, so it's not like you're paying for this or anything like that. Now, granted, will they have individual Lightning Lane available at time of virtual queue? Hell yeah, they will, because they're going to make as much money as they can off of it. But I don't know. I think for like the first 6 months, you almost leave it as a standby queue, because you're going to get your diehards that are going to stand in that line. They're going to get that park suck that you want out of a new ride. And it's going to make the experience across the park a lot better than you've got a lot of disappointed people that didn't get a virtual queue position moping around your park because they don't get to ride the ride that they came down to ride. So, I think there's a little, pro and con both way on it. Now, could a ride open with a standby line and then, 3-6 months down the road go to a virtual queue? I think that one might make sense, because you get that frenzy that's going to do that wait, and then as it starts to die down a little bit, maybe institute that virtual queue for another 3 to 6 months for the people that want to take that chance to try and get the virtual queue and then go back to the standby line, in that 9 to 12 month range.
On that topic, though, that virtual queue, after Rise of the Resistance, I never once went to the park and didn't get the virtual queue that I wanted. There were a handful of times I didn't get the 7 a.m., but then I was able to get the 1 p.m. no issue. There were even many, many times where I was at another park and then park hopped over as late as 3 p.m. and still got the 1 o'clock virtual queue for rides at various times. So I agree with your statement, but I just, in practice, since Rise of the Resistance, because Rise of the Resistance, there were days where I missed the 7 and the 1. But I think they figured out the virtual queuing system to where people that wanted and were determined to ride were, for the most part, able to ride. They might just have needed to wait till later in the day, so they were inconvenienced versus excluded, which still isn't a good thing. So to your point, very, very, very good point about the virtual queuing system, for sure.
Yeah, so other things that we've got going on around the park. So we did have Reflections, the Lakeside Lodge, the project that was alive, then dead, then alive again. Release plans for their pool, and it might be a destination attraction. It is going to be something, it looks like. So what have you seen about it?
Well, the biggest thing that I can say about, the biggest thing about it to me is when I look at this plan and I read about it, exactly what you said. Right now, hands down, what's the best pool on property, Matt?
Beach Club, Yacht Club.
100%. Stormalong Bay between Yacht Club and Beach Club. This rivals that in my mind in terms of the attractions and the fun. Lazy River, giant splash pad. Really, really solid stuff. I think this is going to rival Yacht and Beach Club, which is absolutely amazing in my mind, because as a DVC person, getting into Beach Club is very, very difficult to do. So I think it's going to be awesome to have a Magic Kingdom adjacent hotel, have this remarkable, amazing, almost water park. Stormalong Bay is classified as a water park in the state of Florida due to its attractions. And I think reading this is going to be the same way. Multiple water slides, 0 entry pool, lazy river. It's going to be really cool to stay here and then be able to board a boat to go to Magic Kingdom. That's one of the greatest things about Wilderness Lodge. And this is going to be that and then some. So
that direct to park transportation is a game changer. And when this project was initially announced, so Reflections, a Lakeside Lodge was it was announced prior to COVID, at a D23 prior to COVID, and it is on the old River Country site that is it's out behind the Contemporary. So if you can imagine kind of between Contemporary and Wilderness Lodge, there's an island there. And that's where this project is going, is on this island. And what that means is that to get there, it's going to be by boat. To get to a park, it's going to be by boat. To get to any other park, you're probably going to boat over to Wilderness Lodge, you would think, and then take transportation from there. How do you think that's going to work?
I don't believe it's still going on that island. I think originally it was, but I don't know if it is anymore. Maybe it is still.
Because I was thinking it was there, but it might not be. So if it does have bus transportation, great. But you're still going to have direct boat access.
Way. Yeah. So to your question, though, either way, that island is close enough that I guarantee that they're going to build some type of a bridge from the mainland over to it, so that busing goes in. If it is going onto that island, I guarantee it's not boat off the island to a bus depot. That it's going to be bridge high enough that a boat goes underneath it, no worries, and it's going to be bridge onto that island where this property is at. So it's going to be bus transportation to the 3 parks, boat transportation to Magic Kingdom, and bus transportation to the other 3 parks and to Disney Springs. So they're going to build a bridge. It's not going to be on-off via boat. No way. That's impossible and not a sustainable business plan.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. So there's River Country.
It said it was rumored, but it's not confirmed that it's going. It's got to be going there.
Yeah, because I mean, really, there's no room over here unless they jam it between, like, the campground and Copper Creek.
Right, and that's what I was wondering, is if they're going to put it along that shoreline, exactly where you just said.
Yeah, there is definitely no other shoreline there unless they went
Yes,
north.
it is. Okay, so it is still going on River Country according to the latest news. I went and I saw something that said it was set to be like things were changed, but it does look like it's going on that River Country land, which, like you said, is that island in the middle of Bay Lake. But again, if you look at, it's pretty tight from kind of the mainland to what side would that be? The south side of that island.
Yeah.
And so that there's going to be a bridge right there that's going to lead to a road, and that's where your buses. That's how you're going to come in and out, and that's where your buses are going to be. There's no way they just leave it out in a lake, and that's the only way to get to it.
But there's just not a good... I mean, I'm looking at the roads here, and Discovery Island is pretty well tucked in behind kind of where the Circle D Ranch area is. In Clementine's Beach, if you're familiar with Fort Wilderness. So they would have to come off either the nature...
It looks
path.
like we're going. So I'm looking at the artwork, the plans, and again, these were back from when they were I'm looking at the blueprint plans from when they proposed it to be back done and being worked on in 2020, 2021. It looks like it's the northeast or northwest side of the island, kind of pointed towards Contemporary.
Okay.
Off of that side of the island is just kind of what it looks like. Big building, and then smaller outbuildings, which are probably going to be 2-bedroom villas, similar to what Copper Creek and Boulder Ridge look like. Well, Copper Creek especially. So it looks like they're going to have both, kind of a main building as well as those like almost bungalow-style single-point buildings that are likely 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom suites. Then, big parking lot. And like I said, they would have to send a road off of this across a bridge.
Yeah. Taking around Pioneer Hall.
Looks nice, though. Concept art looks fantastic.
So the pictures I'm looking at are from Pioneer Hall, which is part of... Pioneer Hall's where Hoop-de-Doo, isn't it?
Yes, Pioneer Hall is where they have their quick service and the Hoop-de-Doo review. Down there, towards that beach that you were talking about.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if this is going in back of that area behind Circle D and not on the island. Because I
don't know. It still says it might be, but yeah, it could be. You're totally right. There is room over to, as you're going down towards the boat launch at Fort Wilderness, there is land off to the left.
Yeah. Between Fort Wilderness Lodge and Fort Wilderness Resort, so they are going to jam it in there.
And actually, yeah, so I'm looking at now that I just said that, I'm looking at this map again, and on the far right side of the map, kind of in grayscale, you can actually see their camp circles with the like back in camping lots off to the right.
Yeah.
If I could, I wonder, can we share?
Yeah, just share your screen.
Here, hold on. Share screen. Oh my gosh. Get out of here. I don't know if it's going to work. We can find out. All right. Right here. I think it's this one. Nope, not that one. Right here. Can we see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, so we've got this big, can you see my cursor moving?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see her.
Here's the big building. Again, these look to be very similar to what Copper Creek looks like out there along the lake.
Uh-huh.
And then if you look over here, there's Pioneer Hall, and here's the camping loops. So it looks like they're just going to tie in right off that main road.
Yeah.
Because here's more campground. So yeah, it looks like they're just going to tie in right off that campground drive.
That is that is a huge resort to jam into that little area.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, if we scroll, you can see some of that concept art that we had talked about previously. I mean, you and I talked about this like 4 years ago. So
yeah, that second concept art with the front entrance, though, I noticed something in it. You've got Bambi characters.
Yes, Bambi's right here. Yep.
Flower and Thumper.
Yep.
So I thought that was cool. So, you know,
one other thing, since we're on this topic, since you started this by talking about the pool, I believe that big attraction pool they were talking about is going to be out here behind the main building, pointed out at the lake. So I can't tell if that's going to be this big, gigantic thing, or if it is in here. But that looks like a boat dock.
Yeah, that looks like a boat dock. So this is probably the boat turnaround.
Got to be in here.
Yeah, because you could see kind of like Lazy River in there and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's a huge pool area.
So there you go.
So yeah,
just to talk about the blueprints that were submitted back early on in the project, or not the blueprints, but the site map.
Yeah. So no, that's cool. But I just keep looking at this area and I'm like, that is a tight area to throw a resort in that's that big. Because I'm just looking at like Wilderness Lodge isn't a big resort, even with the Copper Creek Canyon or Copper Creek Villas and all that kind of stuff. And just looking at that site map, that looks huge to fit in this little area. So I'm interested to see, like, if we can get an updated.
I think this is smaller than Wilderness Lodge. Not by a lot, but definitely smaller. They are being very, very creative with how they're using this space, though. Just kind of glancing at it all, and how it kind of butts perfectly up to down there in that beach area of Fort Wilderness. It'll be exciting. I will absolutely 100% visit this resort as soon as I possibly can.
Yeah, it's another one that I've been excited about it since the initial announcement of the project. So yeah, just to see it continuing to grow, and you know, we're getting construction updates now, and with the plans, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, lots of cool stuff going on there. What else do we have going on around the parks?
Magic Kingdom Disney Starlight, the nighttime parade, has a webpage now, which is super exciting. It's going to be out in the summer of this year. That will be absolutely amazing. According to the Disney page that was put up, it says, watch as enchanting moments unfold from favorite Disney and Pixar stories such as Moana, Peter Pan, Encanto, Frozen, Pinocchio, and more. And it will follow the same parade route from Frontierland to Main Street, USA. So time of day, I almost have to believe that this is going to happen like parade, fireworks, or I could even see fireworks parade, like fireworks at 9 or 9:15, parade at 10 type of a deal.
Yeah, I think when they had the old electric light parade, Main Street Electrical Light Parade, it was after the fireworks. Because you would have fireworks, Main Street Electrical Light Parade, and then you would have that that projection show, the Kiss Goodnight, after the parade. So
I just think this it's kind of like how I approach the parties. I watch when I go to the parties, we'll not worry about the first parade. We'll watch the fireworks, then stick around for the second parade, and then go enjoy some attractions as the park is clearing out. But we'll take advantage of the first parade to go and, trick or treat and enjoy some attractions and stuff. So that'll be really cool.
Then the last thing I've got is Indiana Jones Adventure is going to be closed for refurbishment March 17th through April 24th. Indiana Jones Adventure is Disneyland's dinosaur, and just a much better
when
ride.
To when?
What?
When to when?
March 17th to April 24th.
No! That's a shame. What a shame. Whatever, I get to meet Luke Skywalker.
There you go. You get to meet Luke Skywalker. Which we need
that.
that.
America's coming along. The Triceratops spin is basically demolished.
Yeah.
And all the Midway games are gone.
Yeah, there's a lot going down over there. So that's going to be interesting to see how fast that rebuilds, because as far as like substructure, they don't need to do anything there. It's all built. So, they're basically building right up on top, and it should go up relatively fast, I would imagine. So
I would think so.
So yeah, but that's all the news I have. You have any other news?
No.
All right, you got time for a top three?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna top three, and I've got a special top three tonight. So I haven't.
That means you cheated. That means you already have your answers.
I haven't thought about it. I haven't thought about it.
I haven't thought about it. I just thought of the special top three, but I haven't thought about it.
Special top three. Haven't thought about it.
This guy's cheating.
Not cheating. Here we go. Business trip.
Did the people move around?
It does tingle a little bit. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Matt with the DPI podcast. Over on the other screen is Peter with Princesses and the Mouse Disney Travel. He is already mad because he thinks I'm cheating on this top three, and I'm not.
Not thinking.
So I came across this on Twitter X over the weekend, and I thought it was
I didn't think about it at all.
I thought it was a great topic for us to do a top three on, and I will give this guy's answers as well when we're done with it. But our top three tonight is going to be the top three scenes on a Disney attraction.
What? Any attraction?
Any attraction. Top three scenes. You got 30 seconds.
Thinking about taking a trip to Disneyland, Disney World, maybe a Disney cruise, or one of the other amazing Disney destinations? Contact me at Princess of the Mouse, and I'd love to work with you on your itinerary to the most magical places in the world.
You can contact Princesses and the Mouse Disney Travel on Facebook at PATM Disney Travel.
All of the attractions in all of the parks and all of the individual scenes. This is impossible to do in 30 seconds.
Well, we'll sit here and think about it for a little while, as well, okay? Because you just came on
Are we back from the break?
Yeah, we're back from the break. We've been back from the
So
break for
over the
about 30
break-
seconds.
This is impossible to do in 30 seconds. Like and you got to pick just three scenes.
3 scenes.
Just okay. Give me like 1 minute for this gargantuan task that's been.
This
Okay,
is like,
all right.
what are your favorite animatronics at Disney?
Yeah, right. Okay, I've got 1. Okay, I've got 2. Hold on. I could fall back on that for number 3 if I need to.
And I don't even think they need to be
Okay.
in rides.
Okay. No, well, mine are. Yes,
Okay.
yes, they are.
Okay, so go ahead and start with your number 3.
Okay. Man, this is tough. Top 3 scenes.
Top 3 scenes.
Oh my goodness. And this is gonna be. God, there's just so many. Like I want to do a top 5, a top 8. I want a top 10. Okay. Number 3, definitely worth making this list, is the end of Soarin'. Is going to be one of my top 3 scenes.
Okay.
Because these may go in 3, 2, 1 order. I do have my number 1 picked out, which I stand by this one. But for my number 3, I'm going to go with the end of Soarin'. So Soarin' around the world, you come in and it's updated to look like the new area now.
Yeah.
So you come in, you see the globe, Tinkerbell flies around it, 2 fireworks pop, and then your entire field of vision is fireworks the whole way that you come back down. The number of times that I've been on Soarin' and the crowd erupts in applause as you come back down and land tells you just how powerful and moving that scene is if it elicits that type of a response, almost like a jubilation occurring. So one of the top scenes that causes this glee, this joyful exuberance, if you will, is going to be the very end of Soarin'. Very powerful and a great way to end an amazing attraction. That is going to be my number 3 scene for the top scenes in Disney World attractions. Matt, what's the one that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, so my number 3 is actually going to be in a queue line, and it is going to be the lab in Flight of Passage.
That's good.
So Flight of Passage, the standby line winds through this lab research facility, RDA research center, and right before you get into the kind of the big room, the big sort room, you go into this lab, and in the lab there is one of the Na'vi in like a chamber off to the left side. So as you come in, it's to the left, and then you work your way through this lab, and you kind of walk right in front of it. And it's one of the coolest, like, just set areas in a queue in a ride that I've ever been in. To have something, a prop that's kind of that prominent in the queue line is unbelievable. So my number 3 scene is going to be the lab area for Flight of Passage. So, Peter, let's go to your number 2.
That's a good number 3. That life-size Na'vi.
It's
suspended
spectacular.
in the tank is, yeah, I remember walking, and just that whole, and not even just the lab scene, the whole queue up to that, where you kind of like walk through that mesh jungle area before you get to the RDA building that's been converted into a lab. Like, yeah, that's a good one for sure. It made me start rethinking, because I didn't even really think about queue lines. I just immediately went running, for like what are the most awe things in actually riding the ride. So that's a really good one. You're kind of swaying me, and to also make sure that each park kind of gets its due, but I'm gonna I'm gonna fall back to where I was. So I'm gonna go. You almost swayed me. It was very close. I am gonna go to Magic Kingdom, and I'm gonna talk about one of my favorite things that happens at Magic Kingdom, and that is in the middle of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Okay.
I love the middle of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. You go over that lift hill, you whip around a whole bunch, and then you just kind of hit the brakes and slowly mosey through the diamond mine, well, the gem mine, with the Seven Dwarfs, and to see all Seven Dwarfs animatronics all sitting there singing the songs, Dig, 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 and then Hi Ho as you're finishing it out. I love Dopey with the big eyeballs with gems in it. Sleepy's napping on a mine cart. But just what they did in there, because for those of you that haven't been in there, they've got all these translucent gems, and every single one of them has a light inside of it that just makes the whole cavern just sparkle, and it is just so visually impressive. I remember the first time I went on that and we hit that spot, like my jaw dropped. And like I am remembering this vividly from, God, we've been going to Disney now for 14 years.
Yeah.
Regularly as a family. And the very first time we hit that mine, like I remember going, it was just so visually stunning. And it's probably one of the major hooks why we are a Disney family today and why you and I are doing this show. One of my major hooks was hitting that middle area of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
I think that was really one of the first real forced, like, wow moments in a Disney ride. I think all the other ones leading up to that were really organic. That was a really forced wow moment, and it did its job. I mean, it is a really cool aspect of that ride.
And fun fact, for those of you that don't know, the mine cars, the reason why you whip around those turns is because they pivot. And so in that scene, if you get your car synchronized, you can really, really have a good time in that area as well, rocking side to side. So, fantastic scene. Also, part of the reason why, as I showed a couple weeks ago, big fan.
Your Thomas Kincaid.
The Thomas Kincaid painting of it. And I wish there was a bigger canvas, but that was the only one available, which was annoying, but I was going to buy it regardless. I wanted a bigger canvas. But anyway.
All right.
Lay it on me.
My number 2. I've got 2 or 3 really, really good ones, but I'm going to go with another newer ride. And Braden actually brought this up earlier today, and I always think about
it. Yeah.
Well, we were talking about something else, but when you go around the moon in Guardians of the Galaxy, so Guardians of the Galaxy, cool. It's rotating cars, roller coaster, so you're kind of pivoting around the track. But in this scene, you're kind of in a downward spiral, and the moon is sitting in the middle of the spiral, and you're pointed at it as you go around. So you're kind of like almost like drifting around the moon, and it's a really cool effect. It's really well done, and just the orientation of the cars it just gives it a really, really neat feeling to really make you feel like you're kind of in space and just kind of floating through space around the moon as you're chasing the villain in that ride. So just really well done, and for that projection in there, it's a surface mapping technology, but still super cool effect. Moon looks like it's just floating in there with you. You don't realize how big that building is until they turn the lights on and you're like, holy crow, this is a huge building with a lot of track in it. But yeah, just super cool effect there. And one of my favorite reasons to ride that ride. So my number 2 is the moon scene in Guardians of the Galaxy. Peter, we're going to go to your number 1. I've got like 7 of them.
Dude, I've got so many. I would totally be fine if we cheat and do a little honorable mention, as we've been known to do.
a few times. But before we get into your number one, where can people find you?
Scrolling at the bottom, any of that contact over at Facebook is a fantastic way to reach out and start the conversation, or down there on that Wix site, you can find, hopefully it was scrolling right as I did that. That would have been sweet. On our Wix site, you'll find a vacation planning form.
There it is, right there.
There we go. Perfect. So would love to talk to you about your Disney travel for sure. My number one, this one came to mind immediately, so I knew it had to be my number one. And then I worked to find other meaningful spots that, whether you agree are good scenes or not, they were very impactful for me.
Yeah.
But my number one, hands down, has to be right adjacent to your number three in Navi River Journey, and that is the shaman scene in Navi River Journey. Like, if you're not going to put that in a top three list, then what the hell are you doing a top three list on? You're riding, right? First of all, the whole ride is just dark, and it's just bioluminescence and fluorescence everywhere. It's just kind of tranquil and peaceful. But in the back, as you're riding on this ride, there's always this, like, music of the forest.
Yeah.
Right? It's always just kind of there, the music of the forest. And you can tell through the scenes that the Navi are kind of like pilgrimaging towards this music. And you come around this turn, and this larger than life animatronic, fully articulating and moving, is singing this very, very powerful song. Angare, right? And banging on drums, and the drums are lighting up as she's making contact with them. I mean, it is just a visually stunning and audibly stunning. It is just an absolutely stunning scene. Again, one of those moments where I just kind of like dropped my mouth and went, wow, Disney, wow.
Yeah.
Navi River Journey is not worth the wait, and then you hit the shaman and you go, well, that was worth the wait. Yeah, so that has got to be my number one scene, for sure. Matt, where does your number one scene take you?
My number one scene, and I really have a hard time with this because my number one scene has changed and I haven't seen it yet. And it is going to be the welcome party in Splash Mountain. So when Brer Rabbit survives and you get to the zippity doodah with the big steamboat and all that kind of stuff, that is, to me, kind of the quintessential Disney ride scene with the animatronics and the lighting and the music and everything that goes into a scene like that. It's different now, and I haven't seen it yet. So I'm interested to see how that changes now that it's Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And that's one thing that I'll get to experience when we go down this summer, hopefully. So I can kind of relive that. But if I can't use a scene that isn't there anymore, it's going to be...
Yeah, I agree.
It's going to be the scene in Pirates with the pirate ship and the fort.
Yeah, that's cool. Right after the splashdown?
Yeah, right when you splash down into it. And it's kind of like the start of, like, the Walt Disney World Pirates for me. You go through kind of that pre-ride, the Dead Man Tell No Tales part of it, and then you have the drop and the splashdown, and it's the huge pirate ship off to your left and the fort off to your right, and they're throwing cannonballs back and forth into the water, and the water's splashing up. That's just one of those. Disney was well before its time when they created something like that, and it's a wow moment from 50 years ago. So
you can even say the fire scene, like just go a little bit further in that ride.
Yeah.
And, just how you're going through this city as it's about to be sacked, and then all of a sudden it's sacked and flames are,
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean definitely came to my mind. Hollywood Studios did not get any love in this top 3, so I am going to cheat a little bit, because in honorable mention, one that I was toying with is the end of the Frozen sing-along when Elsa makes it snow.
Yeah.
Like, just the sheer, the eruption of giggles of the little kids in the crowd is just a very, very memorable experience. I love that show already because it's a perfect blend of adulty humor and child engagement. You sing all these songs, you belt it out, you get to see some of your favorite characters. But then Elsa does her snow powers and the soap bubbles start pouring down. I mean, the kids just light up. Definitely a memorable experience. So, and that's what I thought of when you were like, you know, these visually stunning experiences. I'm thinking like, which ones set the masses and make them like come back, right?
Yeah,
what are the scenes that bring you back? So just so Hollywood Studios gets some love, I'm going to +1 when Elsa makes it snow during the Frozen sing-along.
Yeah, and I think you could put basically any wow moment from Rise of the Resistance in there as well.
Yeah, you could.
I mean, when you get out of the transport ship onto the Star Destroyer, unbelievable set piece. I mean, just unbelievable set piece. Just absolutely blown away, jaw on the floor the first time I did that. You have the full-size TIE fighter to the right when you get out of there, and then just all the stormtroopers lined up so you can't jump out into space from the destroyer.
Just also the fact that you come out, like you go out the same door you went in.
Yeah.
That's just an absolute mind bender to people that don't understand that it was a simulator that slowly spun us around.
Don't give away all the tricks, but
what?
I don't want to take all the credit for this top 3. Darth Disney 1977 over on Twitter X kind of started this thing in my mind. He's the one that put top 3 scenes on any Disney attraction. His top 3 were flying over London on Peter Pan, going down into the graveyard in Haunted Mansion, and then the pirate ship versus the fort in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Dude is nostalgic.
Yes.
Yes. He didn't do all of Disney. He did at Magic Kingdom.
He did almost all rides that were there on opening day.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good list still. I mean, there's so many more, too, than the ones that we just talked about. That's the thing.
I mean,
there are so many more.
You can go almost on every ride and pick out, like, one part of that ride that's just like, yeah, I can remember this part every time.
Yeah, like Aladdin's Flying Carpet when the camel spits on you. I mean, it's just iconic.
I guess accept that one. Thanks.
Dumbo, man.
Wait up.
You go down the third time, it is something. No, actually, Dumbo has an amazing thing, though. The fact that the kids get to play in the circus and you pick up a pager. Like, that's brilliant. I get to go sit on the side and mess around on my phone, and my kids go run around for 15 minutes. Let's go.
Untethered supervision. It's awesome.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right, man. No, that's a good one. I've got another good one for next week. Do you want a heads up so you can think about it all week?
Yeah, look at this guy. He's cheating again. No, I'll keep mine spontaneous. Thank you.
All right.
That was a tough one, though. You really, I mean, that was such a good top 3 to just pour through and pick out. Because, you know, we do top rides and whatever else, but to think of a specific scene that makes you go, yes, I'm coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I mean, even in the parks themselves, when you make that turn past Oga's and see the Millennium Falcon for the first time sitting in that courtyard, is unbelievable.
Very funny.
So,
yeah, I mean, Magic Kingdom, when you're riding the monorail over to Epcot and you come around that bend and the globe appears, I mean, that's riding on the monorail. That's just a really cool Magic Kingdom. You go under the train station and walk you get Main Street USA framed up with the castle. I mean, there's just so many just iconic moments that you just don't realize that you miss until you see them again, and the wave hits you of just sort of like
and
nostalgia mixed with peace.
And we've been there enough now where, you know, it's not always like a rat race to the first ride. So, you know, with us, I get to stand there and appreciate that view for a couple more seconds now. And that kind of thing. You make that turn in Town Square, and you like you said, frame up the castle down Main Street. And you just kind of stand there and look at it for a couple of seconds, and you're like, wow, we're back.
Yep.
So yeah, 100%. So, no, great top 3, Peter. Thanks for joining us again this week. Glad to have you back on the show on a regular basis again.
Well, it's because I kept getting hate emails like, "Oh my God, you got
I got
Matt's disdain."
I got sick of creating email accounts to send you hate emails.
Fake subscribers. Well, that's why we're close to 1,000.
YouTube will never know. Why are all these fake Gmail accounts subscribing to this guy?
Who's Hat Lytle?
All right. Well, I think we're good again next Monday. So everybody have a good week. We will talk to you next week. And bye now. Peter with Princesses and the Mouse Disney Travel was on this week. We had a new segment, a top 3 segment, and I fended off an inorganic subscriber request on Twitch all at the same time. If you are looking for us on social media, you can find us in a lot of different places. The easiest is going to be over on Facebook at DPI Podcast for the show, at PATM Disney Travel for the travel page. If you're looking for us on Twitter X, it's at Disney Insights. We're also on YouTube, Instagram, Twitch. If you're looking for us, you're going to be able to find us. Thank you guys all for watching, liking, subscribing, sharing, everything that you guys do to support the channel. You guys have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you next Monday. Bye now.